Ladies and gents, welcome. My name's Wasmatic and welcome to Dual Universe. I travelled from Sanctuary, which is a planet, to Elioth, which is another planet, because I thought every video I've done so far has been made at night time, and lo and behold, look, it is night time on Elioth. Can't see any of the other planets anywhere. Anyway, to continue the guide to the basics of the game and tutorials showing new players how to get to grips and get up to speed very, very quickly, I thought I would do a guide to the various tools in the game that you will be using and the commands. So I'm going to go straight into it because I'm going to keep it as short as possible, but there's an awful lot that I could talk through. And I may decide to do some spin-offs. There is a key map which has been given to the content creators in the program from NovaQuark. I will make that available. I'll put a link in the video below. I'll try and get it onto Google, or I might put it in my Discord server, and then if you join that you can download the game. It's basically a PDF document with all the key commands for various tools and flight and running and FPS and all that stuff. So I'm going to go straight in, put the light on, although the graphics glitch a little bit when you do that. I'll leave it off for now. Okay, tool number one in normal gameplay, which is basically the non-building gameplay, is the harvest tool. And we covered this in the mining video. If you haven't seen that, videos and links in the top right. And it's basically just mining from the surface. So, coal. The server is proving to be quite laggy today, so I'll apologise if that causes problems during this recording. Harvest tool. Basically, when you first enter the game, you need to gather small amounts of resources to craft your first few items, and the harvest tool is your go-to for that. Okay? Before you use the mining tool, this is probably where you're going to start crafting. Now, where you start crafting, there are two types of crafting or industry. There are industrial elements, which you put in a construct, which is basically a building, and they will craft things automatically for you. But when you first start out, you do something called nano crafting. Nano crafting, basically crafting things in your backpack. To do that, press K. And then you have this toggle here, which is nano crafter only, so that will only bring up the recipes that you can make in your inventory. And I'm actually going to show you how to make something now. So I'm going to search for scraps, and this will link to something we're doing later in the video. Scrap, sorry, and I'm going to do carbon scrap, and I need some pure carbon. So I've used the harvesting tool to gather some coal. If I now click on the ingredients that are needed to make this, I need coal. So I'm actually going to select, let's make 3 lots, add to the queue, and you'll see very quickly I'm going to start crafting. Now I can close that window, leave that to craft. Okay, so basically that's your harvest tool. You pick up the resources and it enables you to start the process of crafting things, making the things that we all love. Next tool is the actual mining tool itself. Now we've covered this in the video, top right, but I'll just go over some of the actual commands that you can use when you're mining, because you can use it to terraform as well. Mining tool has a circle, and that is the area that you're going to mine. Okay, if you press and hold Control and just roll your mouse wheel, you can change the size of the hole that you're digging. So there you go. Now if you're using your mining tool and you want to terraform an area, that is change the landscape, you can, if you press I and you go into your inventory, there's a little toggle on the top right here which says keep non-precious ore. Select that, and that will start to gather resources while you're mining, which aren't metal ores basically, or limestone or anything. So these are non-precious ores. So you'll see now while I'm digging, you'll see in the bottom middle of the screen that I'm starting to gather sand, probably. Yeah, sand. There we go. I'm digging a hole and I'm gathering sand. Okay. Now the other way that you can use the mining tool to terraform is press I, and you'll see that I've gathered sand here. You take that and you drag it over to these slots in the nano pack. Right, you can drag them in and out when you want to use them. Drag it into there. Keep the mining tool equipped, and instead of left clicking, or if you use the middle mouse button, press down, that's auto mining. That will just keep going. If you press Alt, you'll see the turtle. You'll see the circle turns from yellow to blue. Okay, so when it turns to blue, you left click and you start to fill in. Using the sand that you've gathered, you can terraform back up to the surface, and you can do this great stuff. So there you go. The mining tool not just digs, but it gives the ability to fill by pressing Alt. There you go. Now, Alt's a button you're going to use quite a lot in a number of different tools. So there you go. Now, while I'm on this, I'm going to very quickly swap out to another tool just to show you. I covered this on a live stream the other day, but there is a tool called the flatten tool here. Just going to drag that down to slot number 2 for now. So I've done some terraforming. I've built this back up, and there's a couple of blocks. I can now start to use that tool if I want to terraform, just to flatten the area. So I pick the lowest point with that small dot in the middle, and I just start to flatten things out. So if you want to place a building, which we'll go on to in a minute, use the mining tool, shape the landscape, and then just flatten it. And there you go. Not the best job, but you get the idea. Basically, you aim the dot in the middle, that thing, aim it at the point that you want to have as the baseline for the flattening, and then you just make sure that that stays on the surface. That's the flatten tool. I will put my mining tool back, thank you, because I use that most. Okay, so the next tool, again, we covered this in the mining video in more detail, but I thought it was worthy of touching upon here because there was something that one of my organisation mates pointed out that I'd missed. The scanner tool is pretty straightforward. You press number 3, it will send out a pulse, and it brings up this graph in the middle. Now, somebody told me that I can press Alt and click, and it will send another pulse out. There you go. So I didn't know that you could do that. Again, Alt. But the other thing is, if you run, it will just auto pulse all the time. Okay. Another small tip for using the scanner is that if you press Tab, which brings up your mouse cursor and allows you to click on things, and then you click on this scanner here, it brings up a list of resources that you can scan for. So you could say, I just want to scan for tier 4. Won't do you much good on this planet, but you could try it. So tier 2, tier 1, or you could just say, do you know what, I just want to get some coal because I think I'm going to make some more carbon. We've just done. So that's it. When you want to get out of there, press Tab and you're back to scanning again. Press Alt, hold it and left click and pulse away. Okay, so if you want more detail on mining, video on the top right, that will give you everything you need to know about how to find underground veins of ore and dig them away. So the next tool, again related to mining, is your scanner. This is pretty straightforward. The scanner the scanner and the detector both have the ability to dig like the mining tool as well. So that's important to note. And again, it's covered in the mining video. But the scanner you'll use to find the general location, and then if needs be, you can use the detector and just point it around like this. Nothing's going to happen now because we're not near any ore. And when you point it in the direction of a vein of ore, you'll have a little waveform will appear on this line at the bottom here. And that basically means you are pointed at a vein, ore vein, and then you just run in that direction. Sometimes you can run at it and it'll just disappear. And if that happens, just look up a bit and down, and that will help you fine tune the location of the ore. There you go. Right, the next tool starts to get a little bit more involved, and I'm going to be near to the speeder for this. Lovely speeder provided by a friend of mine, Redlight. Thank you very much, Redlight, for the schematic for this. It's a very basic speeder. So the next tool we're going to use is deploy ground element. So by ground element, there are 3 main types of elements that we can deploy using this tool. Static cores, dynamic cores, and I believe there are space cores as well. Let's have a look. We can access the nanocrafter and let's type in core. We have dynamic cores, static cores, let's deselect that, and space cores. There you go, static, space and dynamic. And I think the space core speaks for itself. That's for building stuff in space. The dynamic core you will use when you're building ships, speeders, ground vehicles, and then the static core is what you will use when you're building buildings. So you start every construction project off using a core. You can see the core on this. This is a dynamic core unit, extra small because it's a very small vehicle. Okay, so we have selected our deploy ground element tool, and let's say I don't have one, but let's say we've selected a static core to make a building. And what you would normally do is have the core in your inventory, drag it across to here, and then you can select it and place it. When you can place it, it will go yellow or green. Now, a couple of tips when you're placing your core. One is press and hold R, rotate your mouse button, and that will help you orient it. Cyclical, see that way, so you can spin it around until you get the orientation right. The other thing that you can do as well is you can use the mouse buttons, sorry, not the mouse buttons, the arrow keys on your keyboard, and move it forward, backwards, left and right. That's handy to know. The other thing you can do is you can use page up and page down. You can lift the core. So with a building, for example, you don't want to lose out on all this space underneath. You can use page up until you get where the floor could be. This is the limitations of your building. This is basically how big you can make it. You can also press the T button and scroll your mouse wheel, and that will do exactly the same thing. I do believe there was a way to use the mouse button to push it further away, but you can see how placement's easy. And then I press T there and move it backwards and forwards, press R, scroll around, press T, scroll it up and down, page up, page down, so you get the idea. That's how you deploy your ground elements. So whenever you're doing a building project, whether it's a vehicle, spaceship, speeder, or a factory, you will always start with the core and then you will add the bits on. There you go. That's it. That's the deploy the ground element. Next thing is the refuel tool. This is pretty straightforward. This is my fuel tank on my speeder. You'll see that when I don't have the tool selected, it doesn't highlight. When I select the tool, it comes up blue. Let me know that I can use the tool on this. Look at my inventory. There is no fuel in there at all. There's the carbon we've just made, but there's no fuel. Okay, so what I can do is press and hold Alt and left click the mouse button, and that's going to drain the fuel that I have in the tank out. If I let go of Alt, check, there you go, nitron fuel, which is the atmospheric fuel, and that's in my inventory. If I press the left mouse button on its own without pressing Alt, fill it back up, the fuel's gone. Pretty easy. There you go. Now this next tool is really important, especially when you start out, because I'm going to be blunt, you will crash your vehicle. You're going to crash it. You're going to crash it into the ground. You're very lucky that during the alpha there was collision on the trees. That's been taken off now, so you can fly through the trees. That was such a pain in the bottom. But so the next tool is the maneuver tool. Now imagine that you're flying your bike and you've crashed it and it's upside down. Right, the seat, the hovers on the bottom are pointing upwards. You use the maneuver tool, select it, and you left click on the item that you want to maneuver. Now when you move your mouse cursor, if you move it up, you can lift it up. If you move it down, you go down, left to right. If you scroll your mouse wheel, you can push it further away, bring it back in. So there's the function. Now the other cool thing is W, S, A and D work. So press A, press D, press W, press S, and then Q and E, which are the roll commands when you're flying. So let's say, for example, let's just let go of this. That's where your vehicle is. You've crashed it and it's upside down on the floor. You just run up, select this tool, grab it, lift it up a bit, spin it around. That way, or whichever way works for you. Maneuver tool. Very handy, worth knowing. Know those commands. Okay. The next tool is it's called Deploy Construct tool. This is where you take a complete blueprint of something and make it in one go. So let's, for example, take this speeder. This speeder was built by another player called Redlight, and if I look at this in build mode, I can actually tweak things. I can take parts of this off, and if I select certain tools, I can move them around and whatnot. I'm not going to do that because I need it to get home. But what I can do is if I go into build mode, let me show you. Okay, let me show you. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that. These are blueprints. These are from previous attempts to make this video because the server's been so bad today. I'm in build mode, and what you need to do, you can see now in my inventory, no blueprints whatsoever. But let's say somebody comes to me and says, oh man, I really like that speeder. Can I get a copy of it? Can I have one? Say, okay, fine, I will sell you a blueprint. And what you do is you go into build mode by pressing B. You'll get this box for the dynamic core. You look at it, look at the vehicle, and you press P. You'll see there, successfully created a blueprint. Now if I go into my inventory, there's the blueprint. You go to the player who said, wow man, that's a really cool speeder, and you can either sell them the blueprint or give it to them. Now I don't know at the moment whether you can sell the blueprints on the market or not, but I imagine that that would be a sensible thing to do. So the blueprint then, so this comes back to this deploy construct tool. So when you have the blueprint in your inventory, you select this tool and then you press I, take that blueprint and drag it into the slot for quick access, and then select it, and then you have at the moment the frame that this vehicle will sit in. This will be the same for any other blueprint, for a building, for a big capital ship. If you're using a blueprint, this is how it works. You look, and if you have all the items that the blueprint needs to construct the construct, you just left click and it will build it. I don't, but what you can do is, rather than just saying, well, I need to guess what the blueprint is, open your inventory, right click on the blueprint and select inspect item. And then what you have is a window here, and I usually shift it off to the side when I'm crafting, and I'll say, okay, what do I need to have in my inventory? So I'll go away and I'll make 4 atmospheric brakes, 1 dynamic core, 1 emergency controller, that basically lands your ship if you fall out. 3 engines for the atmosphere, 2 headlights, stabilizers, container, which I added myself actually, that wasn't in the original. So all of these items that you need to craft, once you've crafted them, you have them in your inventory here, and when you go to your deploy construct tool, this will go, I think it goes blue or green, and then when you click, it will just build it in one go, the whole thing. There you go. Right, that's it, deploy construct. I don't know if there's any alt button, or I don't know if there's any, no, I don't think there's any tools or whatnot, there are no key commands. Right, so we are now looking at, so let's look at the repair tool. So the repair tool, when you select it, so if you'll see, I actually had to damage some of the stuff on my vehicle to show you this. When you see this item here and you select the repair tool, what happens is all of the items on your vehicle that are damaged will show up as either red or yellow. So you can see there, that's showing up as yellow as well. Now here's what I can do. I can use the maneuver tool, and I'm just going to spin that round so we can see it. Let go of that, go back to the repair tool. Okay, so now we're back to, why did I make some iron earlier? Why did I make some carbon? That is because to use the repair tool, it uses a resource called scraps, basically metal scraps, to repair. Now I've made some carbon. You can make scraps in a factory, but you can also nanocraft them. So if I go to my nanocrafter by pressing K, type in scrap, and you'll see carbon scrap there. Okay, so let's say I need 50. You can change the amount here, but I'm just going to make 50 for now. Click add to queue. There you go, it's crafted it. Right, I've made some scrap. By the way, you won't craft these things that quickly when you start out in the game. This is just because I have talent points into doing these sorts of activities. So for me, it's a lot quicker, but as you progress through the game, that will happen. So we now have the repair tool equipped. We're looking at the broken item, but we're clicking. Nothing's happening. It's 72%. And where was the other one? There, and that is at 84%. 84%. What we do, again, you probably get the idea now, press I, get the carbon scrap whilst we have the repair tool selected, drag that carbon scrap over to here. It's selected. Now when we look at the item and left click, you'll see we repair it. Okay, if I select it, there you go. You have to roll the mouse wheel on the right there, see, to select it, which I didn't. Repair. And we do the same for this one. There you go. So that's those 2 items repaired. There's nothing else on here showing as yellow. We can pick it up, have a spin round, say, okay, anything else is damaged? No, that's fine. Okay, we'll let go. And that, ladies and gents, is your repair tool. Now, you will probably have noticed when I press I, there are more tools in here that I haven't covered. The rest of these tools predominantly relate to building. And I'm going to do a more detailed video on building factories, what is called voxelmancy. These voxels are the shapes that you can create using resources in the game. And I'm going to cover that at a later date, but for now I will just cover some of the basics in the build mode. So build mode. Oh look, there's something needs repairing there I missed. Okay, a little bit. Let's drag this over here and down a bit. There we go. Build mode is a lot more complicated than the time in this video will permit us to cover. It's a very deep detailed subject, and certainly crafting vehicles is it's at the moment it's something I haven't done a huge amount of, and I find it very complex, so I haven't invested the time in doing that myself because I'm an industrialist. So I have spent all of my time building factories, and that's reflected in my skills here. So if you look at my architect skills for static cores, I'm nearly at rank 5, which will unlock the highest level of static cores for me. It's 45 hours left to train on that. Anyway, build mode. Press B and we go into build mode. These are some of the commands that you can use. So when you're building, there are elements that you will have. So this ship, this speeder, will be built out of voxels, which are these blocks here, and there's steel, iron, aluminium, wood, whatever you want them to be. There's a brake. So if I just press H when I'm looking at them, these are all elements that go into building this craft. So there's the air brakes, adjusters, atmospheric engines, seats, stabilizers. At the bottom there we've got hovers, big hovers, some headlights on the front as well. So these are all elements. Now what you can do is when you're building something like this, you will use tool number 1, which is deploy an element. So you can see here that's actually a container, and there's another large container which I can't place, but you would never put a large container on a vehicle of this size anyway. But let's say for example I wanted to I'm building this and I say I want to place a small container on it. I would use this tool, find a suitable location on the vehicle, let's say there, and then left click, and that's it. That's added that element to the construct being the speeder in this case. And that's how you add all of these different components, and that's the flexibility of the game, because this chassis here is made out of voxels. We'll cover that in a second. And then these are the elements that you add onto it that turn it into the ship. And as you can see, the beauty of this game is that the flexibility for building is down to you. Now there are an awful lot of, press tab, there are a lot of helpers here you can have while you're building ships, for example. You can get all sorts of information, which at the moment is way beyond me, but information about atmospheric flight and hover engines and mass torque, all beyond me. And I will certainly be doing at a later date, I believe one of the administrators in my organisation, which is the Empire, has agreed to do a video with me where they're going to talk through voxelmancy. So look forward to that one. And also, if you would like to join the Empire, if you'd like to join the game and the Empire, I've got some links in the description below that will take you both to a subscription for joining the game and downloading it, and that subscription is very relevant to this channel. So anytime that you go and subscribe to the game or buy through that link, it gets registered against my name. So that's really good because that helps me as a content creator in the eyes of NovaQuark. But also we'd really welcome more members in the Empire. The Empire is currently the largest organisation in the game, and as such we are a big target to take down. So Any new members who want to get involved in industry or commerce or politics, we have a government. Please feel free to follow the link below to the Discord channel. Get in game, submit an application. If you have any problems, my Discord link is below as well, and feel free to ask me any questions. I would also say that as a content creator, in the content creators program for NovaQuark, they've provided me with a key map, which I will put in the Discord. And if you want to come and download that and use that as a quick reference for all the keyboard commands that I'm going through in this video, then that will be in the link below, and I'll have that on the Discord channel fairly shortly afterwards. So back to, I'm going to do this really quickly because this is proving to be quite a long video. So elements, deploy elements when you're building. So if I was building a factory, for example, and I had the core down and I put the floor down and I wanted to put a factory unit, this is the command I would use. So any of these items, anything here, any of these little bits are all deployed by the tool number 1, deploy elements. Tool number two is the voxel. Now I don't have any cubes or anything on me, so I can't show you how it works, but again, yeah, so something else I forgot to mention, again using Alt, so you add by just left clicking. If you want to take something away, you press Alt, and whatever's highlighted yellow, if I click on it, it will remove it. I'm not going to do that because I need this to get home, and like I've said, my my shipbuilding is fairly lackluster at the moment. So the same with the voxels. If I'm looking at these cubes here, which are voxels, and I want to start to take away from them, press Alt, and it will let me. I can click and drag, for example, and take some of that stuff away. I'm not going to. There you go. These are the tools. So you have a straight line voxel tool where you can deploy, let's turn that off, you can deploy things in a straight line. Again, it doesn't matter whether it's wood, concrete, steel, iron, whatever you've made, and you need a honeycomb. For most, you need a honeycomb refinery. This is how you build the raw frame of whatever it is you're making, be it a building or a ship. So then you have other tools which are all based around shaping the voxels, like smooth voxels, area voxels, sorry, where's that? 4 area smooth voxels and smooth voxels. I will go into a more detailed voxelmancy video at the moment, but I think that's a subject that warrants probably a couple of videos in its own right. Last few bits now. Tool number 6 is the linkage tool. Now this is really important because this is the bit that links all of the elements together. So to give you an example, if I'm building a factory and I have a factory unit that needs an input from a container, I can select the container, click left, and then drag out a link and say that is going to put all the items from there go into this factory unit. So there you go. That's how you use that. And likewise, if you want to put a link from an output from a factory unit to another container, you do it in exactly the same way. Press 6, left click, drag, left click again. Number 7 is select voxels. This just gives you the ability to select specific voxels that you want to shape. Again, I'm not going to do it here because this is will ruin my vehicle. Number 8 is replace voxels, so you can take chunks out and replace them with a different shape. And then finally, number 9, this is really quite a good one when you're building factories, is you can select an item and just move it around, drag it. And when I do the guide to building your own factory, I will be using that and showing you how to move things around your factory, change your processes. So that, in a nutshell, those, I should say, in a nutshell, are all the tools that you will need to use in your time in Dual Universe. I hope that's been useful. Like I've said, follow the link below if you're not playing and you'd like to give it a go. Subscription is $6.99 a month, I believe. You can also join the Empire if you'd like to join in with me and my crew. Well, it's not my crew, it's the Emperor's crew. I am but a humble citizen. And also, don't forget to join Wasmatic Discord and download the key map. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Felt a lot longer than I'd planned, but hopefully it's been really useful for you all. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.